The committee will come to order. A quorum is present. Good morning or good afternoon, wherever each one of the members are. Thank you all for joining us today for the Health Subcommittee's second legislative hearing of the 117th Congress. Representative Pappas, you are now recognized for 3 minutes to deliver a statement in support of your legislation, H.R. 2797, the National Green Alert Act 2021.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, for recognizing me and for including my bill in part of in today's hearing. It's H.R. 2797, the National Green Alert Act, and I introduced this bill alongside Representative Miller Meeks. It's a bipartisan, bicameral bill that would assist states in creating green alert systems. These are similar to Amber Alerts in that they locate at-risk veterans when they go missing so they can receive appropriate care. We know that too many of our brave veterans experience mental and emotional trauma as a result of their service to the country, and we're familiar with the tragedy that occurs each and every day in this country when we lose 20 veterans and service members to suicide. It's a tragic number that underscores that treating mental health is an essential aspect of providing full care, and we've got so much more work to do on this front. So green alert systems are just one tool that some states are successfully using to help prevent self-harm and other tragedies among veterans. It's similar to the Amber Alert and the Silver Alert systems that certain states have implemented. And a green alert system is a communications network that allows law enforcement and the public, in the event of an at-risk veteran's disappearance, to be able to locate that individual and connect them with services. When implemented, these systems can assist in locating that veteran, and it's just essential and so timely to provide that care at that point in time. The National Green Alert Act would create an interagency commission to develop best practices, to provide technical assistance as well to states who establish these green alert systems. And in addition, the commission would provide a report to Congress after 2 years on recommendations for any appropriate additional actions to support states as they develop these systems. Again, it's bipartisan legislation. I think it's a common sense step that we can take to ensure that we're providing the right support and resources at the right time to veterans who have given everything for this country. This legislation will greatly improve an at-risk veteran's chance of returning home safely, and will also further the goal of this committee and this Congress to protect the men and women who have worn the uniform of this country. I thank you for the time to present this legislation, and I yield back.
We'll move on to the second panel, and I'd like to introduce our second panel from the Department of Veteran Affairs. Testifying before us this afternoon is Mr. David Perry, Chief Officer for Workforce Management and Consulting within the Veterans Health Administration. He is accompanied by Mr. Mike Fisher, Chief Officer of the Readjustment Counseling Service within the VA, within the Veterans Health Administration. Welcome to you both. Congresswoman Radewagen, you are next you have 5 minutes for questioning.
Aloha, and thank you, Chairman Bownley and Ranking Member General Bergman for holding this hearing today. Special talofa to Chairman Takano as well. Thank you to the witnesses for your testimony. Mr. Perry, please elaborate on how H.R. 2797, the National Green Alert Act of 2021, might be stigmatizing for veterans with mental health conditions. And Mr. Perry, on our next panel, the Minority Veterans of America will testify that H.R. 2797, the National Green Alert Act of 2021, is duplicative of other existing alert systems for vulnerable adults. Do you agree, and why or why not? Mr. Perry.
Thank you, Congresswoman, for those questions. I'll start with the first one. We do have some concerns with the stigmatizing that could impact our veterans. As this proposal is currently written, it portrays veterans that they would be incapacitated in some way, which is actually an unfair label for veterans with those mental illnesses. Currently, individuals with mental illness have the right to refuse clinical care in context, so as long as they're not in danger to themselves or others. So there must be significant evidence and evaluation, and sometimes often through court action, to endorse the ability for an individual person with any medical or mental health decisions on their behalf. So as currently written, this proposal actually impinges on the individual rights or denied care a veteran or individual may have. With respect to the other alert systems, we do follow those. And so there are, as you know, Amber Alerts and other type of systems that we do use, as well as welfare checks. And so all of those are common practice. And we also engage with our community emergency response partners to seek support for individuals that are in mental health crisis. So we believe our current systems, along with those other alert systems that are already in place, actually accomplish what this bill intends or sets out to do. That's not to say there isn't merit in the Green Alert Act. I think we would like to work with the committee on exploring and making sure that we meet the intent of that alert system, but also to make sure that we don't disenfranchise any of our veterans that are suffering from mental health illness.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I yield back the balance of my time.
Future. I would also like to take a quick moment to thank Representative Banks and Pappas for introducing the National Green Alert Act, which I proudly co-sponsor. The National Green Alert Act would raise an awareness similar to the Amber and Silver alerts if a veteran with a mental illness has gone missing. I support this bill. I passed one similar one in the state Senate in Iowa, and I encourage all my colleagues to do the same.
I would also like to specifically highlight the National Green Alert Act. As Congresswoman Radowagen mentioned, while well-intentioned, we find that this piece of bipartisan legislation's focus is redundant and limited in application to an extent that the program would entirely neglect a population that is most in need of the benefits that this program can provide. I'm speaking of individuals like Vanessa Guillen, Gregory Morales, Aaron Robinson, Freddie De La Cruz, and many other siblings in arms that may have benefited from a similar program. Congressman Pappas's legislation has the potential to ensure that this type of injustice does not happen again. We would urge that this bill be re-examined to leverage existing programs like the Ashanti Alert and national partnerships with other sovereign nations, and to work with each branch of our armed services to provide inputs on the feasibility and best practices of incorporating actively serving individuals into the proposed framework, a practice that has been successful in Texas's Camo Alert for missing service members and veterans since 2019.
And finally, we'll hear from Ms. Bartlett from the Veterans of Foreign Wars. Ms. Bartlett.
Chairwoman Brownley, Ranking Member Bergman, and members of the subcommittee. On behalf of the men and women of the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States and its auxiliary, thank you for the opportunity to provide our remarks on these important pieces of legislation pending before this subcommittee. The VFW's views on all 12 bills can be found in my written testimony, and I will take this opportunity to highlight just a few. Air Force Reserve veteran Corey Adams went missing in the spring of 2017. He suffered from PTSD for many years, and his family knew something was amiss and went to the police to file a missing persons police report. The police investigation did not begin until 8 days later, and the veteran's body was found 18 days after he went missing. In 2018, members of the VFW, Department of Wisconsin, along with Corey Adams' family, were in attendance as the governor signed into law the Corey Adams Searchlight Act, which created the statewide Green Alert system. Similar to the Amber and the Silver Alert, the Green Alert notifies the public if an at-risk veteran, active duty member, or National Guard or Reserve member has been reported missing. Since its implementation in Wisconsin, 24 alerts have been issued. All but 2 individuals have been found and returned home safely, which is a 92% success rate in that state. The VFW strongly supports HR 2797, the National Green Alert Act of 2021, which would establish a committee to create a toolbox of best practices, procedures, and other details so states may implement their own version of the Green Alert system, so no family will have to sit idle and wait for their loved one to return home safely.
Mr. Blevins, you testified that HR 2797, the National Green Alert Act, is redundant of Ashanti alerts. Can you describe what those are? And Mr. Blevins, if the National Green Alert System would be studied by HR 2797, and if it's duplicative of other existing alert systems for vulnerable adults, as your testimony suggests, why do you recommend that it be expanded to include those on active duty?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for that question. So we do believe it's redundant of the Amber Alert, the Clear Alert, the Silver Alert, the Endangered Missing Persons Alert, and the Ashanti Alert. Currently, based on our reading of the bill, veterans with mental illnesses will fall into one of those categories. We do believe that there's merit to this bill, like I mentioned in my verbal testimony. Right now, this bill is very much surveillance focused, whereas the Amber Alert, the Clear Alert, those are all support focused. Here, we're reducing a veteran's identity to their mental health. I do think that if we continue to work on this bill and ensure that we focused more on support rather than surveillance, that there would be a lot of merit to establishing it throughout the nation.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Yield back.
You also mentioned the Green Alert Act, and I am also a co-sponsor of the National Green Alert Act, and I'm thankful to Representative Pappas for bringing this bill forward. In your testimony, you note that my home state of Iowa uses a Green Alert system, and as a state senator, I was one of the people who helped to bring that bill forward. I was a vice chair of the Veterans Committee in the state Senate. I believe that this is a model. Iowa's model is one that can be implemented across the country. How effective have Green Alert systems been in states that have implemented them, and what can we do to help more states implement these types of systems?
Thank you so much for that question, Representative Miller-Meeks. Like I mentioned in my oral testimony, Wisconsin has had a 92% success rate with the Green Alerts. And as far as going forth and modeling, putting together this committee and bringing people in who have an understanding of what alerts can do and how beneficial they can be. Also bringing in professionals who understand how to eliminate or at least reduce the stigma in mental health, that we can talk about, educating ourselves and others, bringing along compassion, choosing our words carefully in those alerts, and just being able to empower those individuals over the shame of mental health.
And did any of our other witnesses want to comment on the National Green Alert System? I know mental health was mentioned by one of our other panelists, our other witnesses. If not, then Chairwoman Brownley, I yield back my time. Thank you so much, and thank you to our witnesses.
This hearing is now adjourned. Thank you.